Good evening. Welcome to Money Matters. Influencers in America had lots to say after billionaire Elon Musk decided to make Twitter his own privately held free speech town square. China and U.S. ties are on the mind of another eminent scholar, while the European Central Bank and the U.S. Federal Reserve have weighed in on the present state of the global economy and the impact of the war in Ukraine.
Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, clinched a deal to buy Twitter for $44 billion cash in a transaction that will shift control of the social media platform. It is a huge moment for the 16-year-old company that emerged as one of the world's most influential public squares and now faces a string of challenges. The shares rose 6% following the news to $51.90. The price represents a near 40% premium to the closing price the day before Musk disclosed he had bought a more than 9% stake.
Ultimately, it's really trying to shake up social media. I mean, he feels like it's a fragmented platform. He could significantly improve it. But there's growth challenges ahead. Twitter's been an underperforming platform for the last decade. And this is definitely Musk betting 20% of his net worth on Twitter. Definitely a risky move.
Musk, the founder of electric car maker Tesla and a self-described free speech absolutist, has said he wanted to buy and privatize Twitter because he believed it wasn't living up to its potential as a free speech platform. Users and analysts are wondering what exactly he means by this and how Musk will run Twitter, given his history with the platform.
He actually silenced some of his critics when it comes to people talking about Tesla. And he cannot take it when somebody, attacks a certain product. And so it's going to be that's going to be the tough point for him to say that it's going to be free speech. Free speech for you is hate speech for somebody else.
Most worrying for many in Washington, D.C., the deal could mean freedom for specific political personalities like right-wing Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has already tweeted she expects to be released from her account ban soon.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, other extremists, not just in the United States, but in the world, will have their accounts restored. And the rules that prevented them from doing certain kinds of extremism and disinformation on Twitter's platform will be eliminated so that they'll have free reign.
Before the ink is even dry on the deal, media watchdogs say there is a clamoring for the return of a certain former president who Twitter banned after the U.S. Capitol insurrection last year.
Donald Trump's Twitter account presents an irresistible temptation to just about everybody in the news industry. Part of the reason we had major cable companies covering empty podiums in 2016 is because Donald Trump's Twitter account made it commercially viable. He can move eyeballs to channels. And if he's back on Twitter, that irresistible temptation is now back in action, and you'll see him having much more influence over the larger information and media landscape.
Musk has already said he intends to restore 45's account, to the dismay of many. There's a chance Twitter could prevent all these potentially bad things from happening with conditions, as was done in other media-related deals in the past. Conditions to make it a lot more difficult for Musk to radically change the nature of Twitter so that it can still serve as the town square of the world. So far, no conditions have been made public. Online, he promised to protect critical speech on the platform. At the New York Met Gala, Musk said he wanted more people on Twitter and warned he was ready to clean house.
The goal that I have, should everything come to fruition with Twitter, is to have a service that is as broadly inclusive as possible. We have to get rid of the bots and trolls and the scams and everything, because that's obviously diminishing the user experience, and we don't want people getting tricked out of their money and that kind of thing. So I'm definitely on the warpath. So if somebody's operating a bot and troll on me, I'm definitely their enemy, just to be clear.
Economist Jeffrey Sachs says the ties between China and the United States are not, as many experts predicted, doomed to worsen. and the two countries should talk more to boost cooperation and improve bilateral relations.
Realism is a kind of cynicism. It says, assume the worst about the other side and then act on your assumptions that the worst is true. That's what realism is in foreign policy thinking. This is the wrong way to proceed. We need to start from a different point of view. The planet is very small, it's crowded, it's actually quite dangerous right now for many, many reasons, whether it's war or disease or climate change. And we have so many common interests. So I don't agree that we're doomed to have worsening relations. It's true, that is the current trend. I'm not a great fan of the politicians in the United States who say this. I don't think they know China very well. I've had the opportunity to visit China hundreds of times. I don't know many of these, whether they've ever been once. So I think if we have much more dialogue, then this so-called realism will become a different kind of realism, a realism of our mutual stakes in cooperation, because that's the deeper truth in my view.
Sachs says multilateral sustainable development should be the guidepost for global foreign policies in the 21st century.
We need the paradigm of multilateralism with sustainable development. That is, not to predict what will go wrong, but to guide what we need, which is cooperation to face common challenges. That's the multilateral system. The best idea a U.S. president ever had, in my view, was Franklin Roosevelt's idea of the United Nations. And we need to make this system work for all countries, not for one country or another country. I don't like alliances. I don't like blocs. We're together. We're on this planet together. It's a small planet, and it's very fragile right now.
The IMF and World Bank have revised the global growth picture in 2022 down from previous estimates, based mainly on the Ukraine war causing disruptions to supply chains, high energy costs, and a drop in confidence. The World Bank reduced its outlook for the world economy from 4.1% to 3.2%, while the IMF cut its forecast from 4.4 to 3.6. But it was the war itself that Christine Lagarde, the president of the European Central Bank, blamed for the dip in the outlook.
Or Ukraine is one of us, and taking this horrible hit. We are seeing refugees out of Ukraine into many of our European shores and countries, and we have to, by solidarity, do everything we can to support them. That's the situation that we have at the moment in Europe. It is particularly saddening as well to see that the recovery that we're embarking on is being stalled to a certain degree by what is happening out there.
Lagarde says Europe would continue to unite its efforts to punish Russia economically through sanctions.
Obviously, the next question that everybody is agitating and considering is what happens with the oil on the one hand, the gas on the other hand. I think the issue of coal has been addressed by the Europeans together, who've decided to ban coal coming out of Russia. And, you know, I think it's a process, and I would not exclude that there be more decisions to come as it unfolds.
Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, says the U.S. must move faster than it has in the past to rein in high domestic inflation. Powell signaled that sharp interest rate increases are to continue in the coming months, which began with a 50 basis point hike at the Fed's policy meeting on May 3rd.
Using our tools to get 2% inflation back. And I think if you look at, for example, if you look at the last tightening cycle, which was a 2-year string of 25 basis point hikes from 2004 to 2006, inflation was a little over 3%. So inflation is much higher now, and our policy rate is still more accommodative than it was then. So it is appropriate, in my view, to be moving a little more quickly. And I also think there's something in the idea of front-end loading whatever accommodation one thinks is appropriate.
Powell was asked if the Fed can bring about a soft landing with such an aggressive stance against inflation. He says the Fed's goal was to both control inflation and avoid a job-killing recession, to get demand and supply back into sync.
And I don't think you'll hear anyone at the Fed say that that's going to be straightforward or easy. It's going to be very challenging. We're going to do our very best to accomplish that. And it's absolutely essential to restore price stability. Without price stability, really, the economies don't work without price stability. We need that to have a strong labor market for an extended period of time. We need it for financial stability, so we must do that.
Following in the footsteps of the U.S. Fed, the Bank of England has again raised its benchmark interest rate as it races to curb surging inflation. The increase of 25 basis points to 1% marks the highest level since 2009. This was the fourth consecutive rate increase as the UK's inflation rate has far exceeded the central bank's 2% target since last winter. In March, the UK Consumer Price Index peaked at a 30-year high of 7%. The British Central Bank expects inflation to rise further to 9% in the second quarter, due to the jump in the energy price cap in April. The GDP is also forecast to fall in the last quarter, driven largely by the decline in household real disposable incomes. Shares of Chinese personal computer and server makers soared as much as 10%. Beijing reportedly has ordered state enterprises and agencies to replace foreign-branded PCs with domestic ones within 2 years. The order includes central government agencies and state-backed enterprises to opt for locally developed software. The directive is said to have come after the week-long May Day holiday break. The exercise is likely to replace at least 50 million PCs on the central government level alone. The move advances China's decade-long effort to reduce dependence on American technology for everything from semiconductors to servers and phones. That's especially critical after the U.S. slapped sanctions against Chinese telecom giant Huawei, sending it scrambling for locally developed chips and software. Analysts say the new directive could hammer sales of American brands which compete for market share against their Chinese rivals. Shares of Chinese PC giant Lenovo gained, while software developer Kingsoft also climbed.
Coming up, how Hong Kong companies are refocusing on the mainland consumer market. Stay with us. Welcome back. Many years ago, Hong Kong manufacturers began moving their factory lines to the mainland, lured by the promise of lower operating costs through cheap labor. But recently, the tables have turned. Sino-U.S. trade tensions and the pandemic have forced many firms to reconsider and refocus their strategies of selling their products in China's domestic market.
We put a high magnifying lens on it and added this slide holder. We put the illuminating module on top of it. And then we inserted the slide. Now, this app can identify the bacteria or virus.
This educational microscope has won several international design awards. The company that makes it has been building microscopes for over 30 years. Now it will launch its new version in China.
The app will be updated every month or even every week. The animation 3D model toys will appeal to children. The mainland market is still immature, so we believe this product will create some noise in the market.
Johnny Deh and his parents exported their educational devices to Europe and the US. But in the last 7 years, they began to expand into the mainland market. In the beginning, 1% of their products were sold in the mainland. Now, it's grown to more than 12%.
Actually, our sales in Europe already dropped 10%. The European market is relatively weak. The mainland market has grown very fast because its population is very large. So the market is very huge. The market cannot be absorbed by a couple of toy makers. That's why we see business opportunities in China.
With the end of the one-child policy and the popularity of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in China, the market for educational toys has grown. Zhe says Hong Kong toy makers can compete successfully in China, especially in design and product quality.
Hong Kong-made toys are usually in line with overseas educational and safety standards. The quality of Hong Kong-made toys are up to international standards and can be more appealing. Even though Hong Kong products are pricier, they are still competitive in design and quality.
Amid the backdrop of Sino-US trade tensions, Hong Kong manufacturers face tariff increases and new US rules on marking the origin of Hong Kong products. On top of that, the supply chain disruption from the pandemic has forced makers like Zhe to refocus on the market in China.
In the past couple of years, the shipping schedule was badly affected for 18 months, and the shipping fees increased 10 times. Our overseas shipments were very unstable. The market in China were more stable and growing. There was no foreign exchange problems. We produced and sold in the same market.
In 2021, China's 14th five-year plan included the dual circulation model of economic development. The plan was to reduce reliance on income from exports and shift to the domestic consumer market. Hong Kong enterprises saw the opportunity to expand. Last year, the Hong Kong Trade Development Council launched the Go GBA one-stop platform for Hong Kong businesses. It offers information on the opportunities for Hong Kong people and businesses in the Greater Bay Area. It also set up service centers in GBA cities, offering seminars to help Hong Kong companies enter the GBA market.
We use digital marketing or key opinion leaders or KOLs to promote Hong Kong designed products. We offer free digital workshop course for SMEs. We hope we can bring some professional services and products to consumers in Shenzhen and other Greater Bay Area cities.
Chong says many Hong Kong products selling in the TDC's design gallery are sold on the mainland via online or in physical stores. She says they can use their experience and their knowledge to expand into the GBA market.
Actually, many have already set up their factories in the mainland. They have workers and they have knowledge of the business environment, their taste, culture, and the demand. Many Hong Kong manufacturers actually are living in the Greater Bay Area and have connections. As they have great knowledge about the market, they have confidence to explore the domestic China market.
This Hong Kong-based food company has held a Hong Kong milk tea brewing contest for 13 years.
We have more and more contestants each year, and we will also hold brewing competitions in different regions. Despite the pandemic, we see many Hong Kong-style cafes operating in the second and third tier cities. They're doing very well.
Currently, Wong sells his products in 3,000 outlets in 23 provinces. He also sells his products online.
The population is growing in the GBA and the consumption power is also higher. In recent years, Hong Kong-style coffee shops have grown more than 10% every year. Hong Kong people go to these shops every day when they visit GBA or other mainland cities. We go to many product exhibitions. Our subsidiaries also do a lot of R&D, hoping to have a greater understanding of the market.
Wong says mainland authorities offer preferential policies to attract Hong Kong enterprises, and he thinks it will make it easier for Hong Kong food companies to operate if mainland and Hong Kong authorities adopt the same set of food safety rules.
We need to comply with the mainland standard if we sell our products there. If our products comply with both standards, or if we can meet the mainland standards, Hong Kong manufacturers or wholesalers can save costs in getting certificates for all products if the problem is resolved.
Art that wraps around you. 180 Studios is opening a new exhibition dedicated to immersive art. 16 installations blur the lines between physical and virtual artworks, all at the crossroads of art and technology. Located in a former underground car park, the exhibition is designed like a maze to get lost in as you wander through the dark rooms.
It is very, very immersive. You love the sound, the visuals. I would say that there are some works that I found a lot stronger than others. There are some works which have like a deeper message and they carry you through stronger than the others. And there are some that where you think, visually, I'm very impressed. Do I get something more from this? Maybe not.
An installation explores the different forms of columns with rotating mirrors. In a pitch-black room, lasers scan the floor and walls. The installation, by United Visual Artists, is made of 4 kinetic sculptures, projecting single-color planes of light.
It's kind of meditative, but also it's kind of, oh, there's a bit of fear in you, you know, what's going to happen. You know, you think of lasers from movies, you think they might slice you up or anything, but they don't.
Another installation explores a world populated by digital humans. Visitors are invited to show a web page to a machine next to each screen to start new videos after scanning a QR code on the wall. One of the biggest installations is Vortex, created by Barcelona-based studio Hamil Industries. It uses light projectors, a purpose-made soundtrack, and smoke effects. The end result is a traveling smoke ring synchronized to music. The point here is to experience the sound physically, with all the senses.
That's our show for this week. Next time on Money Matters, 2 stock pickers go head-to-head amid market mayhem. See you then.